for the first time in my life, my credentials kind of fell right exactly where they're supposed to be.
This week on That Car Show, it's Vince Finaldi, the new president of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. This is the 75th year of the Concours, and it's just 4 weeks away, so there couldn't be a better time to have him on. Vince shares his unique path to Pebble, talks about the cars that shaped him, what goes into pulling off an event like this, and where he sees the collector car world heading next. All roads lead to Pebble, and it's Vince Finaldi on That Car Show. Hey, it's That Car Show, and we are so glad you are here because today we've got Vince Finaldi on the show. And Vince, of course, is the new president as of this past January of the world's greatest celebration of the automobile, the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. And Vince is a trial attorney who in 2022 decided to retire from practicing law to open Finaldi Incorporated, a shop like those run by his father and grandfather that focuses on the restoration, service, and sales of the European collector cars we know and love. His personal collection has included Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, Ferrari, and Lamborghini. Needless to say, Vince is our kind of guy, and we're thrilled to have him join us today. Welcome to That Car Show, Vince.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here, and I think we're both very curious about your journey to being Pebble Beach Concours president. You've stepped into some very big shoes.
Yeah. I'm excited to be here. It's been a long car journey that I've been on that started when I was just a child.
Were you always a car guy?
Yeah, I was born into a car family. So, my grandfather was in the automotive industry, and my father and my uncles were as well. They were entrepreneurs who owned shops throughout the Chicago area and Southern California. So I kind of grew up in shops and surrounded by automobiles.
Yeah. Did you live in Chicago? I mean, I'm a Chicago guy, so I've got to ask. Yeah, where were you?
That's where I was born. My father and my uncles emigrated from Italy to Chicago in the late 60s.
Okay.
And so that's where I was born, Cook County Hospital.
Yeah.
South Side is where I lived until 1978.
Okay.
That's when we moved everything to Southern California.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right
and
on.
Were you in the Carmel area at that time?
No, Southern California. That's where my father and my uncle's shops were. And so I lived there all the way up until about 4.5, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, my wife and I decided to relocate the whole family up to Carmel. We had been coming up here for Car Week for years and years, and it was an easy decision if you've ever been up in the area.
Yeah, you would not have to. You wouldn't really have to twist my arm to get me to move to Carmel.
No, it's a great part of the world. And so I'm just curious, so you grew up around cars, grew up around special cars. What was the first car that really caught your eye, or your first car that you said, damn, this is really something special?
Every single one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were they?
I knew we liked him.
Yeah. My dad and my uncles, they not only ran collision repair shops and mechanic shops, they also imported and exported cars to supplement their income, and also to have fun cars to play with. And so they specialize in Italian sports cars. So at our house, while growing up, we always had Italian sports cars coming and going. Alfa Romeo, Maserati, Ferrari, Lamborghini. And so those are the cars that I kind of grew up around, in addition to American muscle cars, primarily Corvettes.
Okay.
And some German cars, some Porsches, some British cars.
Yeah.
But the ones that really resonated with me were the Italian sports cars that were kind of our bread and butter.
Yeah. That's so cool.
What were the British cars that you had? Yeah. Like that you were exposed to?
Yeah, Jaguar, MG, mainly those. A lot of Jaguars.
Yeah. Did you get dropped off at school and this stuff? And I mean, was this just a part of your identity growing up, these cars?
I don't think I ever dropped off because my dad would leave for work way before school started.
Sure.
And he'd come back home way after school was over with. But he'd take us for rides on weekends for sure.
That's cool.
And so we just lived in a normal suburban neighborhood in Southern California.
Yeah.
And one day we'd have a Ferrari in the garage. We'd have a Lamborghini Miura in the garage we'd owned for a while. And so at the time I just thought it was kind of normal. You buy these cars and bring them in and drive them for a while and then, sell them and then move on to the next one. But, I should have known something was a little odd when we'd get in the car and, hit the garage door open or open up the garage door. And, pretty soon there'd be a gang of kids outside
Oh,
looking in.
yeah.
And sometimes their fathers
Right.
wondering what's going on. And I just thought everyone's house was like that. But apparently they weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Turns out that is not the case.
Turns out it's not the case, but
we just had our buddy Ryan Sopka on. I don't know if you know Ryan at all, but he's a big Ferrari guy. And we talked a bit about how these cars not just can change your life, but really have the power to change the lives of others just out and about. I remember so vividly the first time I saw my first Lamborghini Countach, right? And I had my dad chase it in our Chrysler minivan, right? In this 2-lane, and it just, he's got an F40, right? When he takes that out, I mean, that has the power to change the trajectory, I think, of a young person's life, right? Their interests, their hobbies for the rest of their lives. And so, man, I can't imagine having that rotating cast of cars through the house. I mean, it just must have been wonderful,
Well, it was wonderful, but it was also torture, if you will, because, I'd come home, I'm, 5, 6 years old, and there'd be this wonderful sports car, and, and I get inside of it and play with it and pretend like I'm driving it and just fall in love with the car. And then the next day I'd come home from school and the car's gone.
Oh,
and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? This one was mine.
I'd enough to make your head spin.
And then, next week another one would show up and I'd forget all about it and I'd fall in love with that one. And then, same thing would happen again, or, wash, rinse, repeat. So, now that I'm older, I'm not the type of person that buys a car and keeps it forever. I like to buy cars and fix them and work on them and play with them and drive them and use them. And then, after I've had my time with them, I usually move them on and I'm on to the next one. Because, primarily that's what happened throughout my entire life. I just got used to that process from a young age.
Yeah, that was the example that was set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When we were kids, these weren't, I don't want to call them, don't want to say that they're commodity cars now, right? But, there were a lot fewer Ferrari dealerships, right? When we were growing up, they were just that much more special. You just didn't see them like you do now, right? Like
there were very few dealerships, and that's one of the reasons why my father and my uncles would supplement their income by importing cars. It was something that was easy for them to do because they were from Italy. They knew, where to find the cars. They knew how to bring them in here, and there weren't a lot of dealers here. So it was a good way to make money.
And it must have been Continental, right? Up in Hinsdale when you were a kid was the big dealer in the Chicago area.
I know Joe Marchetti was a big dealer.
Okay.
In Chicago, and and so. Yeah, but I was, very young. I was born in '74, so by the time we moved in '78, I wasn't going to many dealerships and hanging out trying to buy cars there.
Right.
I was probably trying to stay warm.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So this is the 75th year of the Concours. What do you think has kept Pebble, really the benchmark event that it has been all these years and continues to be?
Well, one of them, it's the oldest concourse in the U.S. It started in 1950, along with the road races in Pebble Beach.
Right.
And it's been an event ever since. So, number one is the longevity of the event. Number two is that it's always been able to innovate, to stay ahead of the crowd, which is very important to keeping your event fresh, relevant, and something that people want to go to. And number three, it's always kind of remained a pinnacle event in terms of its standards. It's always had very rigorous and strict judging standards, very strict standards about which cars are accepted and which ones are not. And Pebble has always known what it is. It's not like, some shows that are, especially newer shows, which, granted it's for a reason, but, they're trying to figure out what they are. Are they going to be a high end? They're going to be a low end? Or are they going to just accept everything? They need to monetize it, so they kind of, want to accept everything to get going.
Right.
But we've been, running the show so long that we have the luxury of not having to do that.
Yeah. We
That's
talk
true.
a lot with folks about authenticity and how that's just what everyone wants these days, right? And that, that's Pebble, right? I mean, that's the one, right? I mean, you can't fake the funk, as I think as you're kind of getting at, and it's just
I've been around, repair, collision repair, restoration, you name it, of cars since I was born. So I've been, in paint shops. I've seen cars just completely demolished and rebuilt. Um, I've I've lived through all the stuff that was going on in the late 70s and
Yeah.
80s when they were
Yeah.
chopping, Ferrari Daytonas to make convertibles. And I know
Yeah.
the shop where that was going on. It was
Yeah.
down the street from one of my dad's shops.
Really.
And I've seen the progression of the collector, whatever you call it, the hobby, the business, um, the
Just sort of the whole
and
realm.
I've seen how it's changed.
Yeah.
Before these were just kind of cars and kind of items you owned and used, and there was one point in time where they were kind of throwaway,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
race cars in the
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah.
Right.
But now the way people look at them, the way they buy them, the way they use them, the way they invest in them, is more akin to fine art. There's a lot of fine art principles that have been applied to the collector car market, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's something you really have to take into account if you're anywhere in the business or if you're buying cars. It's a different world now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about those generational shifts a little bit? I mean, you mentioned the Daytona, right?
Yeah.
And look how that's shifted, over the last 20 years or whatever. What are you seeing? What are young, I hate the term young people, but
Yeah.
people younger than us, right? Like what are you seeing in
Yeah.
their,
Well, I mean, to finish the point of the authenticity, I think people are really recognizing and valuing authenticity, partially because of the way these cars are being valued,
yeah.
and the idea that they're only original once.
Yep.
What I'm seeing is that shift towards more original, more complete cars with unbroken provenance that you can trace all the way from day one. People are, they're a lot more informed buyers and users of cars nowadays than they were 10, 15 years ago. We've got much better records. We've got the internet that we can use. So I've seen that as a change. And another change is something that's been happening since the beginning of the car, which is younger collectors come in and they want to buy and use the cars that, were on their posters on their wall when they were young and they couldn't afford them. So we're seeing that generational shift now. It's happening right in front of our eyes. It pretty much, we could say it started in January with the Mecum auction and the huge auctions for some of these Halo supercars that happened at the beginning of this year. And the numbers keep repeating. They're continuing. So that's something that I think caught probably, you, Lindsay, and Ryan by off guard.
Yeah.
Caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I wish I had a time machine. I can go back to October.
Oh yeah.
Maybe pick up a couple
we're
things.
seeing that, and but that's nothing new. I mean, it happened when people went from the brass era to the cars to the pre-war and then the post-war, and it's always been happening, these generational shifts in the cars.
Yeah, it's just a matter of pinpointing, like you said, before it happens, so you can advantage yourself if you want.
And which ones it's going to happen to? It doesn't happen to all the cars. There's certain ones that are the anointed ones that rise. Sometimes the ones that do that really kind of take you off guard. There's a couple that caught me off guard.
I was going to say, which were the ones that were most surprising to you this year? Like starting,
the Enzo. The Enzo is pretty surprising.
Yeah.
It's that's one that caught me off guard. The F50 I can understand a lot more.
Yeah.
It's a manual. It's 12-cylinder. It's naturally aspirated. Formula One technology. I get that one.
Yeah.
The 288 GTO. I get that one as well. The Enzo caught me off guard a little bit.
Yeah.
So what about that? Were you like, oh, I didn't see that coming?
Just that it's newer. It's F1 trans car,
right?
And it was kind of lingering for years and years and years, and all of a sudden it's just a hot car.
It's here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Also, I still think of that as like a new car or newer car, and it's not.
I know.
Me too.
It's been around for a minute. Yeah.
I remember seeing him in the showroom in 2005 or whatever.
Wow.
Right.
And then also the Carrera GT kind of caught me off guard a little bit as well. That car, was lingering at a much lower number for years and years
Yeah.
and years. And there were definite reasons for it.
Right.
I think the suspension upgrades and the upgrades in
Yes.
tires
Yep.
Yeah.
really improved the drivability and the safety of that car, which helped quite a bit with the value.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, and Vince, I think you were in California when this happened, but there was a very famous crash in California between a Ferrari and a Carrera GT at a track in Fontana, which is actually not there anymore. And I think at least for the
Yeah.
people, semi-locally, that definitely cast a pall over those cars too, unfortunately, like fairly or
Yeah,
unfairly.
I grew up really close to that track, and I know where it was. I remember the crash, and
Mm.
Yep.
that's not the only one. There's several
No,
very
yeah,
high profile
yeah,
incidents with that car.
Yeah.
It's it can be a twitchy car to
right.
drive. You really have to know what you're doing. It's a high performance car, and that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of yeah.
Well, and I think, like you said, all the upgrades that they did recently, I think there were a lot of people that maybe took a second look, which could help explain sort of the surprising value, but
Yeah.
it made a big difference.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I think that car has something, it has an intangible, and it's got a legend that comes with it, right? And maybe it's less deserved now with, as you alluded to, the tires and the suspension upgrades and all that. But I mean, that is, you can't put a price on that. And it's just, there's something about that car. That car has gravity. It just has,
Yeah.
Yeah.
gravity.
Yeah, I guess what's interesting is so you see the Carrera GT and then the 918. Carrera GT is the one that's really moving,
Yeah. Yeah.
which,
Yeah.
the 918 is kind of the upgraded version, but it's not really
Right.
getting the same kind of traction.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
the same thing with the Ford GT,
Yep.
that the 2005 one, and then the next one. The next one's, it was a much higher, price point, but it's not getting the same traction. So
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of what caught me off guard a little bit with the Enzo is that, I expected that kind of to be the same.
Yeah.
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 That makes sense. I know, like you said, Ryan, I think about those as new. I remember seeing one of those on the street and describing it to people, and it was around 2005, and them saying like, that's not what you saw. And I'm like, no, these were the features of this car. And they're like, well, that's what that was. And it feels like it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. You mentioned too, that young people drive the cars more, and I that's something that I've seen. I think rallies like the Colorado Grand and the Cal Mille and all these other. I mean, they're more popular than ever. We're seeing a lot of younger people, and they're driving cars that maybe wouldn't have been driven. Right?
Yeah.
Are you seeing the
Yeah.
same thing?
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing that.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, I'm noticing more of a shift from the formal Concord, the formal
Mm.
button-up concourse, towards people wanting to have a little bit more fun and being a little more loose and relaxed
Yeah. Yeah.
and have like a lifestyle event. We're noticing that with our event, and our event has
Yeah.
slowly, been getting more relaxed and
Yep.
more, informal and kind of leaning into the lifestyle thing. So
Yeah.
I see more of that happening. The younger generation wanting to use their cars and finding events or cars that they can, actually use. But another disturbing, thing that I see is a lot of cars just getting stockpiled and everyone looking at mileage
Yeah.
and that and I've experienced it myself with
Yeah.
a few cars I've bought that newer supercars that are low mileage cars and I never knew what mileage anxiety was until I owned one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you drive it around and you just see the odometer and it's just
Yeah.
in the
Right.
back of your head. It's a weird thing. I think it's unfortunate because these cars were meant to be driven and to be used.
Yeah.
And I actually am a big proponent of using cars because I know that, a car, a 20-year-old car with 5 miles versus a 20-year-old car, say 2,000, 2,500 miles, I'd take the 2,500 mile car any day of the week because I
Same.
know that it's probably not going to have many issues,
Right.
but it's not pristine. It's not right off the
Sure.
showroom floor, but that's fine for me.
Yeah.
A lot of collectors are not like that though nowadays.
Yeah.
They want the 5 mile car. They want
Yeah.
the pristine car in the wrapper, and and those cars come with a lot of potential pitfalls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Well, it's a
such a
totally
shame.
different experience, I think, and you hit the nail on the head. Like, and that's what we talk about here too. I mean, you're definitely, among friends is we always say
Hmm.
we love to see people that drive their cars. We love to see the cars being driven. For me, especially, when you see a car that's really special and it's been put away and it's not going to be driven, it's sort of, it pains me for sure. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that's one of our great joys is getting out and driving the cars. So, we like to
Yeah. Yeah.
agree,
Well,
like
and
we
it's
all
better
agree
for
on
the
that.
car.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
Like
better for
they were
the car.
designed to do one thing. So we like to see
Heating
when
up the
people,
car, letting all the different components heat
Yeah.
up, and burn off that condensation. It gets on all the parts. It gets in
Yep.
the
right,
electronics. It gets in the
Yeah.
engine. It gets in the exhaust. And so going through the heat cycles using the cars is a
Yeah.
good thing.
right.
Yeah, getting everything in the internals oiled up, and I'm a big proponent of using your cars, but I'm also a huge fan of preservation cars.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of grew up in the business where we're fixing cars and repairing them and making them better, and it's kind of one of the weird anomalies of the world that if you talk to all the big restorers out there
Yeah.
and you ask them what cars they want, they all love preservation cars.
Yeah.
They all
Yeah.
love cars that have kind of been cared for through their entire life, even if they're not perfect,
Yeah.
because they're only original ones.
Yeah, yeah. I do have a question about those. It seems like every year, whether it's on the Grand or auctions or wherever it is, where do these barn find cars keep coming from? Like, I would have thought.
Not my barn.
Yeah.
Not
We're going to run out of barns at a certain point.
Yeah. It's just, I'm always amazed that it's just, there seems to be this continuous stream of these cars, which is wonderful. But
Yeah,
it's-
that's a phenomenon that started way back in like the 80s.
yeah,
I think Tom Shaughnessy was the first barn find guy that said, "Let me just
right.
pull it out," and he was pulling cars out for years.
Yeah.
And I think he's one of the first people that just put it in the auction just
Yeah.
as is, and they thought he was nuts, but
Yeah.
it worked out really well. So I don't know where they're finding all these cars, but they all they always seem to keep popping up, and it never makes sense to me why someone would squirrel away a wonderful car with 50 miles on it and not use it.
That's it. And
yeah.
apparently it's still happening. I live in a neighborhood here in Denver where there is a legend of a Carrera GT that's in someone's garage off the alley that's got boxes stacked on it. So whenever I'm out on my bike or walking the dog, I make a point of going down the alley because I guess people get into these situations, spouse passes away or something,
Yeah.
to them it's a Boxster, right? They might not know any better. And so I guess they're still making barn finds, at least a few of them. And
now you're making me feel old because I can't believe that a Carrera GT can qualify to be
I
a
know,
barn
right?
find. I mean,
well, I haven't seen it yet.
has
so
it been
could just
around
be
long
like-
enough to get dusty?
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You talked
Speaking
about
of the Enzo
cars.
just being new.
Yeah. The Carrera GT is another one. Lindsay and I, we've talked about this with a couple of recent guests where they have come up so much in such a short period of time that we know owners that have really thought twice about continuing to drive them as they have been, which is a shame. Another friend with a GT3 4-liter, right? An RS 4-liter, a 997, it's just, there's a point where, unless you're really, really wealthy, it becomes a lot of money, and then it stops being fun, and it's kind of a shame. But
Yeah, it's not just that. It's also, there's more stress, involved when you're driving
Yeah.
a car that's really, really high value.
Yeah.
Number one, because the value itself, and you can't just, completely disconnect yourself from it.
Right.
But
Right.
also, as the value of these cars go up, people know about it,
Yeah.
and so you get more attention when you're out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's much less likely than you could just leave the car in a parking lot somewhere and go grab a cup of coffee.
right.
Because people want to go and see it and touch it and lean on it and do
Yeah.
a bunch of the things that car people know you shouldn't be doing.
That's
Right.
it.
Yeah, it definitely changes your experience of the car. And so one thing I'm curious about, and you said you ran into this when you had cars that were lower mileage. Did you ultimately decide that wasn't for you and get something else? Did you just decide you were going to drive them? Like how did that work out for you?
Yeah, I just didn't, I didn't. I had one car. It was a So a Lamborghini Murcielago LP640,
Oh,
and it was a manual trans car. You know, they only made 20 of them. So the last of the manual trans cars,
oh wow.
Ithaca green,
Wow.
green Cuchinturas and interior, and
Wow.
8,000 miles. So
Wow.
this was Ed Bullion's old
Oh,
car,
sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
just a great car. I bought it and I was using it, and then you know, once you go from 8 to 10,000 miles and over 10, a big thing, big change happens with the
Yeah.
price and the collectability for some of these
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
right?
There's a bit of a
But
hit.
you're at 8,000 miles, you're in a sweet spot.
Mm.
And I kind of found myself not using the car as much, and it was kind of sitting there,
Mm. Yeah.
and that's not why I like to own and buy cars. I don't like to just, you know, have it there and look at it. I want one that
Yeah.
I can use. And so I got an offer, and it was a lot more than I paid for it, and it was like a year I had owned it. And I figured, look, I get to drive the car for a year for free, and I get a lot more money, so I'm making a
It's
deal. So I sold it, and now the car is worth probably six times
Right.
what I sold it for. And
yeah.
this is only 5 years ago, you know, 6 years
Wow.
ago. Yeah, it's not
Wow.
that
Yeah.
long. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's one of the ones that got away. It's
Sure.
you know, but to do it all over again, I would, because
Yeah.
I enjoy using my cars.
Yep.
And you know, I took the money and I rolled it into another one, and I had fun with it, and you know, so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
it's kind of my mantra. You use the cars, you know,
Yeah.
have fun with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Better to have lived and lost than never to have loved at all. Is that loved and
Right.
lost than never to have loved at
Yeah,
all? Right.
I
So,
mean, for me, if you're gonna, I mean, I guess I'm getting too philosophical here, but
oh,
you know,
Nope.
if
We're
you're
into
not going
it.
to use the car, if you're not going to use the car, if it's just going to be in your garage and
yeah.
it's going to be for viewing purposes only, then why not just, you know, have one on a piece of paper,
Right.
you know,
Right. Right.
or on a computer screen. It's not that much different, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because you're looking at it as, you know, and like Jay Leno talks about this it's kind of a combination of what we've talked about, where he said they're works of art that can drive if you want them to. And like, I think
Yeah.
one of the things we love about Jay is that he actually does drive them. But you're right. Like if you're buying it and
And
parking it, it's really a sculpture at that point.
well, and also some of the most, you know, wonderful things about a car is when you use them and you
Yeah.
see how they work and you see how they manage different environments and different weather. That's kind of, you know, for me, the beauty of owning these cars. You know, I love to, you know, when I was young, I used to love to kind of pack a lunch and I'd put it in my bike
Mm.
and I'd go, you know, my buddies and I would go, you know, ride in the mountains somewhere, and then we'd have our lunches and then we'd come back. And then we got older and we do the same thing with our go-karts. And then we got older, we do the same thing with our cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you look at all the people at these car shows now, you know, especially the older men, they're doing the same thing. They pack
Yeah.
their little
Yeah.
lunches and they go for the drives. And, you know,
Yeah.
I do the same thing with my wife. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're just nothing more than, you know, older kids.
No, that's it.
Exactly.
But
The toys
that's
have a
the
few
joy
more
of owning.
wheels. Yeah.
And they're a little more expensive, you know,
Yeah.
but
A
Yeah.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's kind of the joy. That's the joy of owning these cars. And
Yeah.
I think that once we stop using the cars, that's when this whole, you know, the hobby that we enjoy kind of goes away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so funny you mentioned that, you know, when you're a kid, you think you're going to reach some day in your life where you're, okay, I'm a grown up now. And that never happens, right? You're just sort of a continuation of who you were when you were a
Yeah.
kid, you know, the cars and stuff. You just, to your point, have more
I
expensive
stopped
things.
maturing when I was about 4 years old, you know?
Yeah.
You're good- you're in
You're
good
like, I
A
have
little bit
feet.
older, a lot less hair.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
we
I'm
all
with you.
instead we have those moments where you go, wait, who put me in charge? I'm the only adult here.
That's
Like,
yes,
adult.
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
No, it's great.
crazy.
Well, and
It's
that's
crazy.
I've had a lot of press cars lately, and so we've been making a point to do like a day trip with each one just to really experience it. And I think you described it really well. It's the cars become part of an adventure, or it's an excuse for an adventure. And like
Mm-hmm.
you're tapping into some of the joy that we experienced as kids,
Yeah.
which we don't have as many opportunities as adults. But the cars are sort of an opportunity to find that again, which is pretty wonderful.
Yeah, I've got a friend, you know, when I moved up here to Carmel, we've got these, there's these car condos complexes.
Oh yeah,
So I bought a car condo, and he had the one right across from me. We met right away, became friends. He was into, you know, Alfa Romeos and things like that. And I had a couple Porsches, and, you know, I always have a few Porsches, and I had a couple in my garage. And he's like, well, you got all these Porsches. And, you know, I'm like, well, have you ever driven one? no, but these Porsche guys are all the same, and they're all into them, and they're all, and which he's not wrong. He's not
Yeah.
wrong, and so
You might have a
I
point.
said you should, so I let him drive mine a little bit. He's like, hey, these are kind of cool, maybe I'll get one, and so finally, a couple of years in, to the friendship, he bought a Porsche, right? And I told him, I said, watch out, because if you buy one, I guarantee you, the Vince Stradamus is going to say you're going to buy another.
Yeah.
You're going to buy another. You're not just going to buy one. He's like, oh, you're crazy. I barely even would buy one, and this and that, and so now he's got two, and he's working on his third.
Amazing.
But getting back to the point, the reason why is because they just work so well. Those cars are so well engineered. They do everything well, but you don't know it until you spend time with them and drive them. Before he was like, oh, this Porsche guys, what the heck is your thing? And then he got to drink a little bit of the Kool-Aid, and now he's got a Kool-Aid dispenser at his house.
Right.
Yeah.
On second thought, I'd like to revise my answer. Yeah.
It's a sweet, sweet nectar, Vince, as you know.
It is.
Yeah.
Irresistible to everybody here.
Yeah. They're pricey for a reason,
That's
right.
I've always done well with Porsches. I know exactly what I can buy it for. I know exactly what I can sell it for.
Yep.
I know how long it'll take to sell the car if I want to sell it. And what I say is that, especially if you're into Italian sports cars, you're in for a little bit of hand wringing and headaches. It's just the nature of them, especially if they're older cars, because they're finicky. They're beautiful, wonderful cars, but they're also, a little bit of a pain in the neck sometimes. And so, most people I know who have them, they always have a Porsche tucked in the back of the garage somewhere, just in case.
That's right.
Because that's the car that's it's just like it's like the golden retriever. No matter what time of the day it is, no matter what the weather is, it's always ready to go and go for a walk. It does
Happy
not
to see
matter.
you.
It's always happy to go. It starts right away, and so everyone needs a golden
It's
retriever. in their garage.
what do you call it? The security blanket? Porsche.
Yeah.
No one's ever compared Porsche to a golden retriever, and it's funny because I own a golden retriever mix too, so I guess I'm not much of a risk taker. So let's nerd out on Porsche for a minute if we could. What are you into? Like what do you take out on the weekends? What's your go-to? I
started with 356s. I think they're just a classic car. I think they're wonderful for what they are. I'm a big proponent of it's more fun to go fast in a slow car than slow in a fast car. So that the first Porsches I owned were 356s. I really love the 56A Coupe.
Okay.
Because I love the beehive lights, and it's kind of the most upgraded one you can have with still having the beehives. Speedsters, I'm a big fan of. I've owned a few of them.
Love Speedsters.
And then getting into newer ones. So for 911s, I'm a huge fan of the 74 to 76 Euro Carreras with the MFI engine. I've owned about 10 of those.
Oh, wow.
I just
so
love
what do you
them.
love about those?
Basically, it's a 73 RS. It's the same car.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
It's got the exact same engine. It's got the exact same trans, the exact same suspension. It's got the upgraded G-body, which is a little stiffer. And the interior is a little bit more plush, no chrome bumpers. Exact same weight, and it's about half the price. And it's basically a race car ready to go right out of the box. They come in awesome colors, all the colors of the rainbow.
So good.
And so you could do everything. We go up to Napa with them. We can drive in the rain. They're just wonderful cars. They do everything well. So those are cars I really like.
That is the answer of someone who knows.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
solid choice.
Those are great cars. Yeah. Should we bring this back to the Concours? Because
what's that?
What are we?
Just kidding.
Well, so you mentioned
work.
Oh, it's a little
work. Okay.
It's a little event in August. You'd love it. You should check it out when you have time. So you mentioned
that's just in a few days.
Right?
I can't be here. I need to go get to work. What am I doing here with you guys, huh?
How does it sneak up like it does every year? I can't imagine how it sneaks up for you, but it's even for the rest of us. It just seems
it
like
does.
It does.
And the funny thing about Car Week is that every single year, my friends and I, we look forward to it and we're excited about it. And we've been doing it for years. But then once like Thursday rolls around and you're in Car Week on Thursday, we start saying, Monday's coming.
I know.
The depressing Monday. And you're like, oh God, you're a little hungover and like, oh God, you just got that post car week depression. And
Yes.
but with the new position here, I was telling him, I said, maybe I won't have that. Maybe I'm really going to be happy on
Yeah.
Monday that it's all over and I can relax a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be a different
TBD.
experience for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is the most wonderful time of the year. So it's hard to come down from that, So what are we excited for this year? What are we going to see? You said you mentioned Mura, and I know that Mura is
so it's the 75th anniversary. So we have a lot of big, great classes. We've got the Pebble Beach race car class, which is cars that actually raced in the races in the 50s when they still raced at Pebble Beach. We've got the Vignale classes, both non-Ferrari and Ferrari. We've got pre-war streamliners, which is an awesome, amazing class. I mean, that class has some really, really good cars. If you can go to the show and just see the streamliners, then you'll have seen something more tremendous than in 50 shows you can go to.
So can you, for people that aren't familiar with that class, can you tell quickly a little bit of what would be in that class? Like what type of cars?
The characteristics?
Yeah.
Some, some of the French cars that were built, pre-war, 30s that are kind of like a shooting brake style, if you will. The long swooping form with the, and you're just gonna have to see it when you get here. And then also, so for the first time this year, we're actually, if you've been to Pebble before, usually the first fairway is the Ferrari fairway.
Right.
And Ferrari's got their big display there, their activation with all kinds of cars, and it's a great event. Well, for this year, for the first time, we've actually given the third fairway out. So the entire third fairway is going to be filled with Lamborghinis this year.
Oh, cool.
To
That's
commemorate
amazing.
the 60th anniversary of the Mura. So we've got a bunch of cars already signed up. We're going to try and get to the 60 count. Not sure if it's going to get there, but it's going to be well above the prior world record, which was 27 Muras. That was at an event back, I think, in 2016.
Okay.
So that's going to be fantastic.
It'll be surreal.
Lot of great stuff this year.
Yeah. Are you pinching yourself? I mean, someone who grew up, the Pebble, Pebble was always on this pedestal, right?
Yeah.
Trip over my words there, but I mean, and now here you are in charge
You're
of
the
guy.
thing.
Yeah. I never really imagined myself being here. And it's not something I chased. And, initially it's something I really didn't want. Because I transitioned out of law practice and, I opened a shop and we were restoring cars, specializing in Italian sports cars. And I was having a great time doing it. And I just happened to meet some people with the Pebble Beach Company, some executives, and some people with the concourse. And they kept coming around the shop saying, look, we're looking for someone, to kind of carry on the tradition and to take over. And, we think that, it's hard to find someone. The event is so big, and you got the sponsors, you got the manufacturers, you got the car show, you got the judging, you got the technical aspects of the show. That you really need someone who's a business person and also a car person.
Right.
So
Right.
it's easy to find a business person that knows a lot about business and how to run one, but doesn't know anything about cars. It's easy to find a car person that knows a lot about cars and, certain areas of the industry, but doesn't know much about running a business. And it's hard to find someone with a crossover. And that's what they really wanted. So for some reason, by some crazy happenstance, I happened to, for the first time in my life, my credentials kind of fell right exactly where they're supposed to be. And I said, well, I said, look, I'm not just a concourse person. I like to go to the concourse. I like to see the cars, but I really like to use them. I like to drive them. I like to restore them. I can do paint work. I can do metal work. I can do mechanic work. And that's what I enjoy doing. And they said, look, we want someone who's really familiar with all aspects of the industry and the people in the industry. So I eventually my wife said, what are you, stupid? Go take the meeting, go talk to them. You go to these events anyways. A lot of the people. Why are you so reluctant? And I said, well, when you put it that way, it makes me feel like an idiot. But
she sounds like a wise woman.
marrying someone smarter than I am,
Well,
and
it's
so I took the meeting, and turned out that our thoughts on the event and where it's going and the
yeah,
future of the event and the car, the hobby, they aligned, and we
yeah,
had a
yeah.
lot of the same ideas. And what really got me was when I learned how much the concourse does for charity.
Right.
It's our
Yeah.
biggest charitable fundraising arm for the Pebble Beach Company and Pebble Beach Company Foundation, and we raise millions of dollars every year that goes to the core funding is for children and
Mhm.
education for kids all throughout Monterey County, which is a huge county.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And when I transitioned out of law practice, I wanted to kind of lean into something where I'm giving back. I've been
Mhm.
fortunate in my life and career,
Yeah.
many for many different reasons, and I really wanted to give back. And when I learned that I can have fun with cars, I can still run a business, and I could be giving back to the community, the car community, and to those less fortunate. It was just a win-win-win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why wouldn't I do it? So those are the reasons why I'm pinching myself.
Yeah, yeah.
But as with any job, I mean, there's headwinds that we have to deal with.
Sure.
There's things that give you headaches.
Yeah.
So anyone that says it's a dream job and it's just the most wonderful thing in the world, they just haven't really looked deep enough into it,
Sure.
and see that the reality of the position, because it's not all fun and games. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is something that I do. I like a challenge.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
working, and so it's
Yeah.
something I do enjoy.
You seem like the perfect candidate, and I guess my question for you would be, say, 25 years from now, right? 100th running of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. How would you like people to look back at your time at the helm? What do you want them to say?
I think I'd like them to say, whatever they feel. But hopefully that
Just be honest, right?
Yeah,
I was a good team player
yeah,
and team builder,
yeah.
and that I was really able to put together a strong team that was able to carry this thing called Pebble into the new generation,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
attract young collectors and to grow the hobby, and also respected the lineage and the history of the event, and also all of the wonderful cars that are part of the event,
yeah.
and didn't neglect any area of the industry or any area of collectors. A lot of
Right.
collectors
Yeah.
were wondering, well, what are you going to change? And that's the first question I get asked by
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
Because
Right.
everyone has their own interests.
Sure.
And they don't want what they know and love to change. And so my first answer is, not much.
Yeah,
It's a great event. It's a pinnacle event. Anyone that gets in there and says they want to make these huge sweeping
yeah.
changes is not the right person.
Right.
But that being said, it is a living, breathing event. It needs to change, and it has been changing for decades in order to stay relevant and fresh and new,
Mhm.
and to remain something people want to go to year after year and not just see the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
What has been the most like unexpected or surprising part for you, given like you've attended it, you have a lot of history with the event, but now you're on the other side of it. What's been the most surprising or unexpected thing about putting it together for you?
Let me see. Most surprising is really, I mean, I guess the amount of passion that everyone really has for the event.
That's
I
awesome.
think what kind of sets Pebble apart from a lot of other events is that you've got some really diehard Pebble Beach Concours fans all throughout the world. Whereas
Yeah.
Yeah.
before I thought that there's people who kind of think that maybe it's a little bit too high society, if you will,
Mm.
or and it's not really the case at all. It's a very, very inclusive event, and the one that have people have a lot of passion for, and people want to help. I mean, I've gotten calls from people all over the collector car community, whether it's brokers and dealers, and people who run museums and
Mm.
Yeah.
manufacturers, and people in the special equipment
Mhm.
territory. They all love the event, and they all
Yeah.
want to help it to to elevate it
Yeah.
and to help it to continue. So that's something that really surprised me. I thought it was going to be more of a niche thing
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
just for like the hardcore Concours people, and then the rest is just like, oh well, it's just another event. But
Yeah.
Right.
it's really not turned out to be that case, which
Yeah.
is
That's a
great. It was
that's
a
a pretty
wonderful
fantastic
surprise.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's funny. Lindsay, you grew up going. I didn't get around till a couple of years ago, and I think
Yeah.
one of the reasons was, I thought maybe it was a little too highbrow for me. First year I went, I was very worried about what sport coat I was going to wear.
yeah.
And then I get there,
That's
and I'm
the
like, oh, I run
impression.
into friends. Like it was easy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So
the impression. That's the
yeah,
impression. But you get there. Yeah, there's that element where a lot of
sure.
people dress up, and but I
Right.
think that's one of the beauties of the event. It's good to get dressed up at
Yeah,
least
It
once a
yeah,
year,
is.
and
yeah,
kind of walk around and have a glass of champagne and go
yeah,
talk about cars. But the
Right.
best part of the show is that you see all your car people friends there, and
yeah,
if you've been
yeah,
around the car community for a long time, everyone comes from all around the world, and you see
Yeah.
everyone there. So it's just
yep,
it's a great it's like our I say it's like our Christmas, if you will.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
was gonna say that, or like
Christmas is not just
homecoming,
about the
or
well,
right.
yes, it's not just about the presents. It's about spending time with your family and friends.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
No,
And
you're
the people, not just friends, not just the people you know, but the people you've only ever seen in magazines, right, or on
Yeah,
television. And people are generally pretty accessible too if you go about it the
yeah.
right way, right? It's a very easy, welcoming environment.
yeah.
And I'm so glad you touched on that because I don't think enough people know that. And it's
Hmm.
yeah,
I know. I
it's
mean,
a
I think
safe space
that's
for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
well,
Right.
it's
So
like if you try to put the actual experience of being there for the event, being at the
yeah,
event, if you try to put that into words, there's something intangible about it that is so wonderful. You
mhm,
only feel that at the Pebble Beach Concours. And I think
yeah,
that's part of why we're like you said, Monday morning, you're just like, well, wait, that's it? We got to wait a whole nother year?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So is that something that
Well,
you talk about? Like, how do we create this feeling and preserve that for the attendees? Because it's magical.
Yeah.
it's just part of the magic of Pebble, and
Yeah.
living here, I get to experience that a lot more than some people do, and
Yeah.
I don't take it for granted. It's a wonderful piece of geography.
It really, there is
The
something
18th
very,
green there
yeah,
and
Yep.
the lodge. It's a magical place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you combine with you can put your favorite cars in the world there and walk there and see the water and smell it, and it's just it's really a lot of people's happy place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely one of
that's a
mine.
huge it's a huge differentiator from a lot of other events. You can have the same cars potentially, but you can't have the same location.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's just magical. Talk about gravity. That said, if it is your first year this year, what do you recommend for a first timer? What should they know? Where do they start? What's your advice to a first timer?
First timer, I would say get a catalog. Like
Hmm.
Sports Car Market has a really good catalog they put out that shows all the different events going on. There's so many events that you can't attend everything. A
Yep.
lot of the events overlap with one another,
Yeah.
Right.
and you just got to look through it, and you got to plan out your time, because a lot of people come into town. I think 100,000 people for the week, and so traffic becomes an issue,
Yeah.
Yep.
and getting from one event to another becomes an issue. And if you try to do too much,
Yeah.
you end up spending your time in traffic. And so you'll rush through the one event, right, which
Yep.
is not fun.
Right.
And then you'll be in traffic, which is not fun. And then you'll rush through the next event, which is not fun. So you should really be selective
Yeah.
and only go to a few events and leave yourself enough time to get from one to another so you can
Yeah.
spend your time there and really enjoy yourself. And another thing is just put down the phone. I
Mm.
tell everyone, put down the phone. There's going to be so many photos of these cars and the location and everything all over social media and the internet. You don't
Yep.
need to take photos of the GTO that everyone's photographing.
Right.
Obviously take some photos with your friends and your family or whatever, but put the phone away, because that's when you can actually soak it all in, and you can talk with some of the people that are there.
Yep.
Yeah.
These captains of industry, these race car drivers, and all kinds of people in the car industry, and most of them are there to have fun as well.
Yeah.
And they're friendly, and they'll talk to you, and that's kind of one of the the beauties of Car Week that you don't get other places, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. No, that's great advice, right? I mean, and all those other pictures are going to be better than yours anyways.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned right
I know.
away,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and
Yeah.
that's a good point of if you pay attention, because a couple years ago I was coming out of a luncheon at the lodge and Jackie Ickes was coming down the sidewalk and I went, no time like the present. So I said hi to him.
Yeah.
And he was so lovely. He took the time to say hi to us. I was with my friend Alana Scher, and we both got to say hi to him and take a picture. And he walked away, and we went like only during Car Week. Like this is
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
Well, and another thing is like if you're, because I just, people are on their phones a lot. I'm seeing it more and more, especially at big sporting events and things. And if you don't have your phone out and you're just looking around, and you get to be the one that experiences a lot more than they do, because you get to see everything.
You're there.
You really get to take in the event, and it's kind of like a hack. It's a cheat code for the event.
Vince's life hack. Put your phone down.
It really is. You put the phone away. It's a little weird for a little bit, but then you kind of get to loosen up, and it makes it a much more pleasant experience.
Absolutely.
It's very analog. It's like going back to all of our childhoods.
Right?
Yeah. It's such a special event, such a special day. Our friend Johnny Lieberman was on too, and he had some very similar advice. He said, pick one thing each day and then just go have dinner with good friends, and you're going to have the best time. So that, and put your phone away. I think that's the roadmap for success during Car Week for sure. But,
what did he say? Decide that your philosophy is JOMO, the joy of missing out, and then be determined to miss out on things.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's going to happen. You're just. I feel like each year it's just more, right? Each year it's just more. But if you're going to do one thing, and you can swing it, make sure that it's Pebble, because it is the one. It is the one.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's the one event that the other events kind of all shut down, and everyone comes here. And it's it's an event where you see things on Sunday that you don't see beforehand. You can go to the tour and watch some of the cars go and drive.
Yes.
You can go to Concours Village and see some of the stuff. But if you really, really want to see the event and the show and what the magic is all about, you got to come on Sunday.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
It is what it is.
Absolutely. I'd like to bring it home just for a second, because I'm very lucky to be a part of the Colorado Grand. And it's another opportunity to see a lot of these cars, these sports and racing cars, at least, that you see, on the lawn in motion. Have you ever thought about doing the Grand? I know that a couple of your predecessors have done it over the years.
Yeah, I have. So I did the California Melee this year. Had a great time.
Event,
yeah, it was a very good event. And so I'm planning to do probably one driving tour every year. Next year, I'm looking at doing either the Colorado Grand or the Mille Miglia.
Okay.
I know it's the 100th year. It's the 100th anniversary of the Mille Miglia, which is a huge deal. So I think, the cars are probably going to tip in favor of the Mille Miglia.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's that in Italian, by the way? The 100th year of the Mille Miglia.
The Mille.
Yeah, it's Mille Cent'anni.
Oh, okay. All right.
Cento anni. Yeah. 100 years.
Yeah.
But
I
so
wouldn't
that's going
blame
to be
you if you chose
that's
that.
going to be a huge event, and I've got a car that actually raced in the Mille Miglia in 1954 that I'd like to bring over. So
what is that, Vince?
It's a 54 Ferrari Mondial, 500 Mondial. Yeah, race to race there. And, it's done. I think it's done the Mille Miglia like 16 times, 15 times. Yeah.
It could pretty much do it without you. It's like, if you want to sit and have lunch, I can go on ahead.
Yeah, it's traveled a lot more than a lot of people have in their lives. But I've never done that event. I hear it's really it's one you really have to do. So I'll do that one, and maybe the Grand the year afterwards.
Yeah.
I
feel like that's a
no-brainer.
no-brainer.
This year,
Yeah.
2 years, come to Colorado.
Yeah.
That's
well,
awesome.
So what is your, what up to this point, because you've had a lot of car and driving related experiences, what is the best drive you've been on, or favorite car related experience of your life so far?
Best drive? I get to do it all the time. I live in Carmel Highlands, which is, if you drive south from Carmel towards Big Sur, it's the area where the cliffs start. And so I live at the very end of the houses there. So when I leave from my house, I make a left on PCH, and there's no houses. It's just because I live at like the last part of
Yeah,
civilization, if you will.
right.
So if I make a left on PCH and I floor it, then it's just me and the road and trees and the landscape and the ocean, and I can go all the way down to Big Sur, or I can keep going and go all the way down to Cambria for hours. And if I go early enough, I don't have to see anyone else on the road. So that's my number one drive. I've driven
Yeah.
all over the world, and that's always going to be my number one drive. My buddies and I, almost every single weekend, we get up really early and we drive down south to Big Sur, and we'll have breakfast, and we'll be back home by 9 a.m.
That's amazing.
To kind of start our day. But yeah, that's my number one drive.
That's a pretty
You are
great
living
one.
the dream. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No, I know there's a lot of hard work that went behind,
do a lot
getting
worse.
here, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So have
That's
you
fantastic.
been
That's
to,
fantastic.
I'm assuming you've been to the Nepenthe,
Yeah,
that restaurant?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like right on the cliff in Big Sur. So for
Yeah.
our listeners, if you
Yeah,
haven't
that's-
been, you have to go once.
Yeah, that's a good one. But so that's one that we can go to when it's not tourist season. If it's
yeah.
winter or something, and we can go for a drive a little bit later, and there's not too much traffic on the road. If it's summer, because I don't think the restaurant there opens till like maybe 11 or something. So if you're going
Yeah, you
for a
can't
drive
get there
down
and get home
south in a
early.
sports
No.
car at 10:30, 11, there's gonna be a lot of cars on the road, and it's just you don't have the same fun experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've only seen pictures of that place, though, and it looks like one of the most amazing locations of any restaurant in the world.
Yeah,
It just
there's
looks
a
incredible.
few restaurants like that in
Yeah?
Big Sur that, I think Nepenthe, what is that? What was it built in like the 40s or 30s or something?
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
been
really
there a
old
long
building.
time.
Yeah, it was like an artist lodge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had restaurant there, but it's a wonderful place.
Yeah. Well, Vince, I know we're at close to an hour, and we're so fortunate to have the chance to talk with you. And I think that Pebble is so fortunate to have you at the helm. You just seem like the perfect guy for this role.
We'll find out.
Truly. Yeah. Oh, I have a feeling this is going to be the best one yet. So,
Come back in
can't wait.
September
Hopefully
and we'll add up the.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll cross paths. Say that again. Hopefully we'll cross paths with you at some point during this year's event. I know you'll be so
Yeah. If
busy,
you
but
see
can't
me,
wait.
just slap me on the back of the head and introduce yourself, and I'd
Will
love
do.
to see you guys. I'm sure I'm gonna be very busy, but
I
definitely
would
not too
imagine.
busy to talk with you guys.
Yeah, we would love
It's
to
gonna
say
be
hi in
wonderful.
person.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm no Jackie X, but
I still want a picture with you.
Yeah.
Well,
That'll
all
be my
roads.
story for this year, right? I'll be like, and
That's
this
right,
year
that's
I got
right,
to meet
that's right.
Vince
Yeah.
Finaldi in person.
That's right.
Guys.
That's right.
Yep.
Well,
long silence afterwards. Awkward silence. Okay,
no
I
way,
guess
no
you know.
way, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. no.
Well, all roads lead to Pebble, and this year it's Sunday, August 16th. Again, it is the 75th year, and I think it's going to be really, really wonderful. So
It's gonna be awesome.
Vince Finaldi, president of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. I think you just brought us up a notch, so thank you. This has been fun. Been a real pleasure. Can't wait
Been a
for
pleasure
this year's
talking to you
event.
guys.
Yeah.
And
All right,
are
I'll
you
talk to
so
you
much.
soon.
are you
Go
on
ahead.
social media? Like if our audience wants to follow along, is there a place they can
Yeah, you
find
can find me. I still have the restoration shop. It's Finaldi Inc. And it's Finaldi.inc on Instagram. And my Instagram handle's really difficult. It's Vince Finaldi. So pretty easy to get a hold of.
Yeah.
He's made it
And
really
Pebble,
challenging.
of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Pebble Beach. So if you want to find out about the event or you want to find tickets, you go to www.pebblebeachconcours.net.
Perfect.
Awesome.
And we will see you in
Vince,
August.
thank you so much.
I know.
Appreciate
All
having
right.
you on that car show. And Lindsay,
Yeah, thank you so much, Vince. We loved having you and look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you to our audience. We appreciate you all being here, listening, sharing with your enthusiast friends. And of course, we always appreciate you liking, subscribing, and leaving a 5-star review. Remember, always be driving. We're That Car Show, and we'll see you next week.